welcome back to the show. Now, just before the break, we spoke to Mr. Hassen Kajie about his career and the long road of his career until he got to this point. I'm now interested in his family life. Mr. Kajie, behind every successful man, there's a family, a wife, and a personal life.
Absolutely.
Tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a Kajie. I'm married a Kajie with no relation. I'm married to Latifa Kajie, no relation. We only realized afterwards that even the spelling of my surname was the same.
Yeah, that's interesting because you spell it as K-A.
That's a long story.
Yeah, and most people spell it the other way.
Yeah. Anyway, when I wrote my board exam, I needed a copy of my birth certificate. And that was the first time that I realized my spelling wasn't the same that I was using at school.
Oh.
And it was too late to change my birth certificate just before I wrote my board exam. So I kept that name. And when I qualified under that name, I just kept that surname. And then when I married my wife, she was also K-G-E-E. And when I got her birth certificate to make it the same as mine, lo and behold, her surname was also spelled K-J-I-E. Yes. Anyway, a bit of my personal life is very interesting. I got married in 1989. I didn't have my BCom degree yet at that stage, but I wanted to get married. And I was studying part-time. In 1989, I was married.
Why was it? Because you saw this lady and she was the right lady for you?
I just couldn't wait any longer. In 1989, I got married. In 1990, I got my BCom degree. In 1981, my daughter was born, my daughter Tasneem. In 1982, I passed my CTA exam, which is equivalent to the honors. And in 1983, I qualified as a chartered accountant by passing the board exam, all 1 year after each other. And I don't think I would have been able to do it if I did not get married.
It's interesting you say that, because I have the complete flip mentality when it comes to what I do. I feel that someone is just going to hold me back. And here you going and you're saying, and I discussed it this morning with staff, and this morning they were saying, no, but it depends how you think and stuff like that. And here you come along, half an hour later, and you say, you wouldn't have got where you were if it wasn't for your wife.
Well, I think the reason for that is that by getting married, I had a bit more stability in my life instead of running around.
Was this from an emotional point of view, or you had someone that you could confer with?
Well, I'm coming to that. I had more stability in the sense that, you know, I'm now housebound and I can focus on my studies.
From that point of view.
Sorry?
You're indicating that you might have been a naughty boy. So
you can read into it, okay? And then, of course, the support of my wife. I mean, she supported me, and it was very difficult times because, as you said, as you heard, my daughter was born a year after I got my degree, and I still had to write my honors exam and still qualify as, in fact, the board exam I wrote when my daughter was 1 year old, and the morning before I wrote, she went to have grommets inserted in the ears. She was in hospital the morning I wrote my exams. So it was very difficult, but it was a sacrifice we made, and the support of my wife was enormous, and she supported me all the way through. And
she still continues to, I suppose?
Well, she does complain that I don't give enough time, especially now. We only got one child, so
it's only Tasneem?
It's only Tasneem.
What does Tasneem do now?
Tasneem, she's a housewife now. She got married about 9 years ago, and a year after she got married, she and her husband, whose name is Hassen Kajie, he's a mechanical engineer, and being a mechanical engineer, he got an opportunity to work in Dubai. They went to Dubai for 5 years, which is very traumatic on us, especially my wife.
Of course.
To lose the only child and go so far. And that's when Latifa wanted me to spend more time with her, which I couldn't because of the commitments and responsibilities.
There was a vacuum there.
But Allah is great. Allah is great.
So are they back from Dubai now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The man above is great. After 5 years, which was enormous experience for my son-in-law, obviously my daughter, who was in travel and tourism, and they say she gave up a job because of her child was born. They came back. She came back to South Africa to have a child born, and then they went back and they had another child. And so I got 2 grandchildren, lovely grandchildren. My eldest is 4, and the younger one is 2. The man above is great. After 5 years, my son-in-law managed to get a very good job in South Africa, and now they're back in South Africa. But they're not as close as what we wanted them to be. They're in Johannesburg, which is much better than traveling to Dubai to go see them.
No, of course.
Yeah, so in that time since my daughter got married, my wife expected me to spend more time with her. It's been a bit difficult, but at least I work hard, Monday to Fridays. Weekends I don't work, and I don't expect clients to worry me over weekends. So I think that's a fair balance I have.
Of course. Mr. Kajie, before we are sort of heading to the end of the interview, but before we do that, when I started the interview, I mentioned that you're one of those people that we look up to in community for what you've done and where you've been, and how you got to where you are today, and the principles that you base your development and growth on. And that's something that is admirable to many people. Looking forward, there are many youth outside today looking at the show that's saying, there's a man in 60 years, he's balanced it all properly and got to where he needs to be, because you've made it in business big time, and we make no bones about that. What's your advice to them wanting to follow your career path?
My advice is to any young person, determine upfront what you want to do, be committed, work hard, study hard. You know, I took everything step by step. The first goal I wanted to do is to get out of university, stop studying. And that happened when...
So that was your first goal?
That was my first goal.
To stop studying and get out?
To stop studying. Out of university. Then my next goal was to get the board exam. Then my next goal was to get into private practice. Then my next goal was to succeed in private practice. So what I'm trying to say, set small goals. Set small goals. Set your goal to get your degree first. Then set your goal to get your honors. Then set your goal to qualify. But be committed to that goal. The next thing, once you achieve your goal, be efficient, be honest. Don't let anything sway you from what is right. You know, in the business world, there are so many opportunities to get rich very quickly. Unethical ways. Rather stick to the ethical way, and the man above will look after you. That's my advice to any youngster.
Just before we end off, do you think that the political spheres of the country has played a role? Because the time that you started out, you must have been in the depth of the apartheid era. And things have changed for youth today. Did you experience some of those challenges? Because people say today, but you know what, we were in apartheid at the time, and therefore we are this and we're not that, and that sort of thing. But that didn't seem to faze you at all, the fact that you mentioned to me what you did.
Well, I can tell you one thing, it was very difficult those days. In fact, first of all, you couldn't choose the university that you go to. In fact, if I tell you the history of how I got to university, you need another hour. But in a nutshell, I had to fake my race at UWC because I'm not colored. I'm Indian. I had to go to Durban Westphal. I faked my race. I said I'm Muslim. And the authorities thought Muslim is colored, and they put colored on the form, and that's how I got into UWC. So bad it was. And if I didn't fake my race, I wouldn't have studied. Then the next hurdle was to get into a firm that you can do your articles. And the white firms didn't want to article you. Sometimes the partners of the firm want to article you, but they're scared to take you because they're going to send you to their white clients, and the clients don't want you.
Of course.
Things have changed today with the transformation of the accounting profession and the involvement that I was in an organization called ABASA, which is the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants, where I was the chairman in the Western Cape. I was also chairman of the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants in the time of their transformation as well. So we have transformed the profession greatly, whereas today it is more of a commitment from the bigger firms to allocate a certain amount of the intake to black people. So the opportunities are far greater than what it used to be based on my time.
Mr. Kajie, thank you for coming into the program. It was very interesting. In actual fact, I'm very loath to invite you the next time around because there's lots of information that we could discuss going forward. Thank you very much.
I have a lot to tell you, and you're welcome to invite me again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassen Kajie from Nexia SAB T, director there. Long career, lots of information for our youth. And the man that I thought I knew very well because I knew him all my life, I now realize I knew absolutely nothing. Until next time, goodbye.